Hi guys, I apologize I'm not in class today, but I'm going to give you a real short video of what I need you to know. So 3.5, there is two formats I need you to know. Slope-intercept formula, which is y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Most answers are in that format, so that's the one you're probably most familiar with. Point slope formula is this. The y and the x will always be there. This x1, y1 is a point on the line, and the slope, of course, is m. Typically, when you use point slope formula, you rearrange it into slope-intercept formula. So continuing on, the way I did today's lesson was not using the examples, but to use problems that I'm asking you to do for homework. So for each problem or each section, I'm having you do the pink ones for homework. I'm doing a blue one with you. So starting with the first one, with number 8, it asks you to write an equation of the line shown. Well, we need to either know the slope and the y-intercept or the slope and a point. The slope is very easy. You can find that by counting. With number 8, I cannot tell where that y-intercept is. I'm not going to assume, I'm not going to guess. But I can find the slope by counting or using the slope formula. And I'm going to use a point on the line. So the first thing I did was count. So I counted from this point, I went up 2 and left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where these numbers came from. So up 2, left 6. 2 is positive because up is positive. Left is negative according to our coordinate plane, which simplifies to negative 1/3. So I'm writing an equation that uses this slope, and I chose this point. You can choose either one and it will still work out. So using that formula, I plugged in x1 into my x1 spot, y1 into the y1 spot, and of course my slope in the slope spot. I have to simplify to eventually get y by itself, so let's take a look at what I did. Simplified the signs, simplified the signs. On this side, I distributed the negative 1/3 to both terms in the parentheses, negative 1/3 x, and then when I multiplied negative 1/3 times 5, I want to show you over here, it's pretty easy. Top times top, bottom times bottom. So this is negative 1 times 5, which gives me the negative 5. 3 times 1 gives me 3. So negative 1/3 times 5 gives me negative 5/3. When I subtract 1 on both sides, this is where I would ask Desmos for some help, because when you add fractions or subtract them, you have to have a same denominator. So what I'm going to do on Desmos is negative 5/3 minus 1. So let me flip to Desmos real quickly. When I plug in negative 5/3 minus 1, typically when you first put this in here, you'll get this big long decimal. This little blue button here, if you click it, it will change it to a fraction for you, which is what we want. So negative 8/3 is negative 5/3 minus 1 gives me negative 8/3. So this is my equation of that line. Moving along, 15 and 16 are pretty easy. 15 says write an equation of the line with a given slope and y-intercept. There's the slope, there's the y-intercept. You plug it in and you're done. With number 18, I apologize, that should say 18. So for 18, same idea, you're writing an equation of the line that has that point and that slope. So we're using point slope formula. Again, this is 18. I labeled everything x1, y1. I wrote my formula, plugged in my y1, plugged in my x1, and I plugged in my slope. The next step, I'm going to simplify. 2 negatives become a positive. On this side, I distributed the 3 to both terms. And the last thing I did was subtract 2 on both sides to get my y equals format. So this is the equation that goes through that point and has that slope. And the next two sections are really a little bit more true geometry. So number 28, it says, write an equation of the line that goes through this point and is parallel to this line. It's important that you know what the slope of this line is, because we know that two lines that are parallel have the same slope. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what the slope of that line is. So I took this line and I want to rearrange it into a y equals so I can pull out the slope. So I added x to both sides and I got this. Then I divided each term by 2. When I did that, I get this equation and I get the slope is 1/2. So this slope is 1/2, the parallel slope will be the same. So I'm writing a new equation that is parallel to this line, so I'm using this slope, and it goes through this point. So I'm using my point slope formula. So when I do that, using my point slope formula, y minus 0, here's my y1, here's my x1. So y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Again, that information is right here. So when I distribute, because this side just simplifies very easily, on this side 1/2 x, and then 1/2 of -4 gives me -2. So that's my equation that goes through this point and is parallel to this line. For 35, very similar situation. It says write an equation of the line that passes through P and is perpendicular to the given line. So it has to go through this point, perpendicular to this point. Again, I can't tell what the slope is, so that's my first job. I'm going to take that equation that's given to me and rearrange it so I can figure out what the slope is. I see that the slope is 3/5, so my given slope is 3/5. A perpendicular slope has opposite signs and is flipped. So that's what I did to find my perpendicular slope. And it has to go through that point. So through that point with that slope, what we've been saying all should make sense. Y minus y1 equals -5/3, which is my slope, times x minus x1. Left side simplifies pretty easily. And then when I distribute -5/3, I'm showing you over here where this came from, that -40/3. So -5/3 times 8. Top times top, bottom times bottom gives me -40/3. My last problem to do is number 48. So 48 says, which lines are parallel, if any? So again, I don't know by this format. These three equations, I can't tell what the slope is. So what I need to do is take all three of them. This is one, this one's the second one, and this one's the third one. I rearranged them and solved for y so that I could pull out my slope. So I subtracted x divided by -6 to get y by itself. This slope is 1/6. Subtracted 6x divided by -1. This slope is 6. Subtracted x divided by 6. This slope is -1/6. So with all three of those slopes, -1/6, 6, and 1/6, there are no parallel lines. So since I'm not here today, I will answer any questions that you guys have. I will be in class on Friday, and I will see you guys then.